Now that you've gone through a complete financial plan in the previous session, I hope you're able to get a hang of how the various sessions that we went through, how the various asset classes that we talked about, how the various asset allocation and goal setting concepts that we introduced are coming together and making a cohesive financial plan for you that will help you make a decision of what you must do with your money and why exactly you are putting your money in a particular asset class. While the previous plan was a plan for someone who was a money virgin, meaning someone who has never invested before, let's take up a slightly more complicated plan wherein somebody who is invested for 3 to 4 years has a certain existing investment and how he can go about making his plan based on the various concepts and principles that we've learned all through the sessions. Let me start with building a profile of Mr. Rahul Sharma, who is going to be our study for the day. Rahul is a software engineer who passed out and started working at the age of 24, and he started off with an annual income of 15 lakhs and today earns a package of 25 lakhs per annum. He is originally based in Lucknow, but he moved to Pune for his work and he lives in a rented place. Over the past 4 years, he's managed to save some amount of money, but he's not sure whether he's invested correctly and whether it will serve the purpose for which he's saving the money that he has saved in the last 4 years of his work life. Let's start with looking at his cash flows. So if you look at the cash flow of Rahul, he has a CTC of 25 lakhs. That is, the offer which he has from the company is a cost to company of 25 lakhs. But if you look deeply, you will find that there are certain components which are not paid out to him on a monthly basis, like gratuity and performance-based bonus, which will be paid out only on the fulfilling of certain conditions. So what he actually receives every month is an amount of 1.73 lakhs. If you look at his salary slip, from his amount of 1.73 lakhs, he has certain deductions in terms of employer and employee contribution to PF, profession tax, and then an income tax of 11,500. So the net amount he receives in his bank account after all deductions is 1,42,730 per month. Before we go ahead and delve into how much he saves, let's quickly look at the income tax amount of 11,570. If you recollect our tax planning session, from his total receipt of 14.7 lakhs, he is claiming deductions for 80C towards investments of 1.5 lakhs, Section 80D towards health insurance, 80CCD, that is your national pension scheme, of 50,000. He is also repaying his education loan, which should get over soon, for which he is able to claim a deduction of 1 lakh, and he is also claiming the standard deduction which is available for all salaried persons of 50,000, resulting in a net taxable income of 10.7 lakhs, on which he lands up paying a tax of 1.38 lakhs or 11,570 each month. So what he receives in his account is an amount of 1.42 lakhs, which is received after all deductions have been made from his salary account. Now that he receives an amount of 1.42 lakhs in his bank account, the first thing he needs to do is to figure out how much should he be saving. Since he lives in a city which is not his hometown and he pays rent, what he is able to save each month is an amount equal to 40% of his in-hand salary. So out of 1.42 lakhs, 57,000 is what he is able to save, and the balance amount is paid towards his expenses, which includes his rent, which is one of his largest expense, and food, conveyance, maintenance and other expense. You will also see that he has a student loan EMI which he is repaying each month. So what he would do is he would receive an income of 1.42 lakhs in his income account, and then he would transfer an amount of 57,000 towards his savings bank account, and the balance will continue to stay in his SDFC account, from which he will make all the expenses. Once he's put aside his savings of 57,000 rupees each month, the next question is, what should he do with his savings? Where should he invest his money? And before he takes his decision of where to invest his money, first he needs to build his safety net. And for that, what he needs to take? Yes, you are right. First he needs to ensure that he's taken a term insurance and a health insurance. Given that he did not have any dependents for the last 4 years, Rahul did not have any term insurance till now. But Now his parents have retired and he also knows that he will go ahead and get married in a year or two. So he's gone ahead and taken a term insurance which is equal to 12 times of what he receives, which is equal to an amount of 2 crores of sum assured is what he's taken, and he's taken it in the form of a term insurance plan. We've already discussed the logic of this, that if at all something were to happen to him, his dependents would get a payout of 2 crores which can be invested, and the regular inflows from that corpus of 2 crores will take care of the expense requirements of his dependents. With life insurance in place, Rahul goes and does a check of his health insurance cover, wherein he has a cover of 10 lakhs for which he's paying a premium of 9,661 each year, and that is sufficient for him today, given that he lives in a tier 1 city, and that amount is enough to take care of his health requirements. If you were to combine both of them together, he is paying an amount of 34,393 each year to take care of his health insurance cover plus his term insurance cover. Now that he is adequately covered for both of these emergencies that can occur at any point in time, he is now with a free mind. He can go ahead and think of investing his money based on his goals and his risk profiling. Before we do that, let's look at his current investments, that is the amount he's managed to save in the last 4 years. If you look at his current investments, he has an EPF investment of about 7.3 lakhs, which is automatically being saved as a result of the EPF contributions which are being deducted from his salary before paying out to him each month. He has FDs to the amount of 5 lakhs, and he is invested in equity mutual funds whose value today is about 13 lakhs. This is the list of his existing investments. Whether this investment holding is good or no, we will evaluate based on what? Yes, you are right, we evaluate it based on his risk profiling. So Rahul goes ahead and does his risk profiling, which will help determine both his ability as well as his willingness to take risk. Rahul is young at age and has a stable job. Based on his risk profile test, his ability to take risk is high, but his willingness to take risk is slightly lower because he's never taken those kind of risks with respect to his investments or life decisions, and he's always been slow and steady in his approach to managing his money. Because of his willingness to take risk being lower, he's turned out with a risk profile of a balanced investor. So a balanced investor risk profile will invest 50% of his money in equity and 50% of his money in debt, and the expected return from such investment will be about 11.5%. Now that we've arrived at his risk profile, should we get started with investments? No, we need to wait a bit again and first ask him to list down his goals, because it is a combination of his goals along with his risk profile that will help us determine where he should be investing his money. So we make a list of his goals, and if you look at his goals, he wants to set up an emergency fund which is equal to 6 times his monthly expenses. That gives him an emergency fund requirement of 5 lakhs. He wants to go for an yearly holiday which requires an amount of 1.5 lakhs each year. He has a goal where he wants to set aside up to 10 lakh rupees so that he can use it for his wedding, which he anticipates can happen in the next couple of years. And he also has a goal to buy a house in the next 3 years. He wants an amount of 30 lakhs which he can use towards the down payment of the house. And lastly, he has a goal wherein he wants to accumulate a retirement corpus which will take care of his lifestyle expenses and help him maintain that lifestyle post his retirement, and that is his last goal. As we did earlier, let's go ahead and compute the future values of these goals. In case of an emergency fund, the amount of fund we've already arrived at, which is 5 lakhs, which is nothing but 6 times his monthly expenses. With respect to his yearly goal, he wants to put aside 1.5 lakhs. He would need an amount of 1.59 lakhs at the end of 1 year so that he's able to go for his travel that he plans. With respect to his wedding fund, he wants to put aside 10 lakhs which he anticipates he will need in 2 years of time. So the total amount at an inflation rate of 6%, he will need an amount of 11.23 lakhs to meet his wedding fund goal. With respect to his home purchase, he has a goal to buy a house wherein he wants to put aside 30 lakh of rupees to be able to fund for the down payment of the house, and he wants to achieve this in the next 4 years. So after 4 years, the amount of 30 lakhs at an inflation of 6% will grow to 37.87 lakhs, which he needs to target so that he can put that money towards the down payment of the house. With respect to his retirement, he is currently 28 and he expects to retire at the age of 60. So that gives him 32 years to plan for his retirement. He expects to live till the age of 85, and in today's terms, he needs an amount of 86,000 each month to maintain his lifestyle. This 86,000 at an inflation rate of 6% would grow to an amount of 5.5 lakhs as the amount required just to maintain his lifestyle. So you can see that the inflation plays such an important role that just to maintain his lifestyle, he will have to provide for an amount of 5.5 lakhs each month when he retires at the age of 60. So assuming that he is going to live till the age of 85, he would have to retire with a corpus of 11.95 CR so that his retirement is taken care of without any hitches and glitches. Now that we know how much Rahul earns, we know what his existing investments are. We've also managed to do his risk profiling, which arrived at a balanced profile. We've listed on all his goals. We know the future value of his goals. The next step is obviously to look at what he should do with his existing investments, and second, what he must do with his monthly surplus. Where should he be investing it so that he can achieve his goals? Let's get rolling on that. With all his goals listed down, the next thing he needs to do is break them up into short-term and long-term goals. So all goals with a tenure of less than 3 years become short-term goals. That is his emergency fund, his yearly holiday, and his wedding fund. All these goals will be achieved by investing his money in debt as an asset class, whereas his long-term goals of buying a house and retiring will be done or achieved with a mix of debt and equity. Now that we know what needs to be allocated to debt and equity, before we look at his monthly savings, one additional thing that we need to do for this plan is to first look at his existing investments. If you recollect, he has an existing investment in 3 products. One is a EPF, which is a debt product. Then there is a fixed deposit, which is again a debt product. And then he has investments in mutual funds, which are equity mutual funds. Is invested as 13 lakhs towards equity and the balance towards debt. Now, although this seems close to his balance profile of 50-50, what is wrong in this particular allocation is that he needs to put aside a good amount of money towards his wedding fund, which he expects to happen in the next couple of years. So let's go ahead and allocate these investments towards the various goals that we have. Of his fixed deposits of 5 lakhs, let's allocate 3.5 lakhs towards the emergency fund and 1.5 lakhs towards his travel goal. And with respect to his equity investments of 13 lakhs, let's allocate 7 lakhs towards the wedding fund and 6 lakhs towards the goal of buying the house. With respect to the emergency fund, he is left with a shortfall of 1.5 lakhs, which he needs to achieve in terms of his goal being 5 lakhs minus 3.5 lakhs we've allocated from the FDs. He needs to invest 1.5 lakh each month so that he can achieve this goal in the next 1 year. For that, he'll have to put aside 9,715 rupees each month. With respect to his travel goal, we've already put aside 1.5 lakhs. So he doesn't need to put any additional investments, and his goal of travel in the next 1 year is taken care of by his existing investments in the fixed deposits. Next, we move to his goal of wedding, wherein we've allocated 7 lakhs towards a wedding goal. But the problem here is this money is invested in equity mutual funds. So what we need to do is go ahead and redeem these equity mutual funds, take the money out and allocate it towards a debt mutual fund so that whenever the wedding is to happen, the money is available for use and he's not affected by the volatility in the equity market. So out of his goal of 10 lakhs, we put aside 7 lakhs for the wedding fund, and the balance money he'll have to put aside over the next 2 years by saving 11,600 each month so that he will land up with the corpus which is required to achieve his wedding goal. Next, with respect to his goal of buying a house, we have put aside 6 lakhs towards buying the house, and he will have to achieve the balance through a monthly investment, which as per our goal setting sheet gives us an amount of 46,861 per month. And lastly, to achieve his retirement goal, to retire at the age of 60, he will have to accumulate a corpus of 11.95 crores, and we have currently allocated the EPF corpus of 7.37 lakhs here, and he will have to put aside an additional monthly investment of 22,925 each month so that he achieves his retirement corpus. If he were to put together the money that he has available for investment and the money that he needs for all his goals, this is what it look like. So to meet his short-term goals, he needs to invest an amount of 21,383 per month, and to meet his long-term goals of buying a house and retirement, he'll have to put aside an amount of 69,786. If you were to do the math, clearly the total amount required to achieve his goals is 91,000, but the amount that he has available in the form of savings is only an amount of 76,000 each month. Now that there is a mismatch, he'll have to figure out a way to resolve this mismatch. If you look at his goals, one way to resolve this mismatch is delay his retirement by a few years so that he can work for a longer period of time and earn the surplus amount, which will help him fund his retirement goal. Second alternative is he can think of either reducing the amount he needs for the house, the amount of 30 lakhs, or he can delay his house goal for a certain amount of time. So in this case, if he were to delay his house goal for, instead of looking to buy his house after 4 years, if he delays it by just 2 years and thinks of buying the house after 6 years, what will happen is that gives him a longer period of time to accumulate the money required for the house, and as a result of which the monthly investment that he needs to make reduces from 46,861 per month to an amount of 29,738 per month. So with that lower investment, if you look at his total amount required to achieve all his goals, he is actually well within his monthly savings of 76,000, and he is on a right path now, given that with a small adjustment in the goal where he delayed his house goal by 2 years, that gave him that much more time to accumulate money for his house, he was able to achieve his goal. Alternatively, if he wanted to buy the house in 4 years, he can consider reducing the value of the house from 30 lakhs to a smaller amount which fits into his existing savings of 76,000. Now that your total savings of 76,200 are well within the amount required to meet all his 5 goals, let's go ahead and start setting aside the money to achieve all our goals. So from his savings of 76,200, he's going to put aside 2,866 per month to take care of his life insurance and his health insurance requirement. Then he's going to put aside 9,715 each month so that his emergency fund shortfall of 1.5 lakhs is met by the end of 1 year, and he closes on the corpus of 5 lakhs. He's going to set aside 11,668 per month to take care of his wedding fund, and after he's put aside money to take care of his short-term goals, he's left with a balance saving of 51,951 per month, which he can allocate towards his goal of buying the house and his goal of retiring at the age of 60, and allocate the 51,951 in the ratio of 50-50 towards debt and equity, because his risk profile was that of a balanced investor. So the amount required to meet his short-term goals of 21,383, that is emergency fund and his wedding fund, will get invested into debt products, whereas the amount required for his long-term goals of 51,951 will get invested in a mix of debt and equity, so that it is invested as per his risk profile and it is towards the long-term goals of buying his house and also retiring at the age of 60. Now, while all of this looks fantastic when we do the calculation, real life may not go as per plan, and you will always see some variations to the plan when you actually start living out the goals that you plan to achieve. In case of his wedding goal, he plans to marry in the next couple of years. But if he were to meet someone and if the marriage happens in the next 1 year or so, he'll have to immediately work on tweaking his plan. While there is a shortfall in his wedding fund, wherein today he has only 7 lakhs versus his target of 10 lakhs, if an alliance were to come up and he can get married in the next 6-8 months or up to a year, he can quickly go back and look at his finances, and he sees that the money that he's allocated for his travel can be utilized towards his wedding fund, because as at that point in time the wedding becomes more important than his goal of yearly travel. If after using up his travel fund also there is a shortfall, he can always fall back on his emergency fund, utilize the emergency fund so that the wedding happens, and after that he can work towards setting aside a larger amount each month towards his emergency fund so that he can build the corpus back to the amount of 5 lakhs that he planned for. So while everything looks fantastic when we do the planning, we should always have a small element of adjustment so that if the reality turns out to be slightly different, you are very nimble footed and you're able to make those changes and achieve your plans. Because if you don't have that option, then the only option that you're left with is to borrow for the goal or otherwise delay your goal. And some goals, as we know, cannot be delayed. Similarly, if you go back and look at the fact that he had health insurance, but he did not have term insurance, but now he realizes that since his parents have retired and they're dependent on him, he made that change of going ahead and buying that term insurance so that he's protected in terms of an untoward event happening. In terms of his health insurance, given that last year was a COVID year, he actually contracted COVID, was hospitalized in the month of June and was released, and he landed up paying close to 3.5 lakhs as the bill towards the COVID expenses. Now these expenses were taken care of by his insurance policy because there was a cover of 10 lakhs available. Imagine a scenario where he did not have the health insurance cover. He would have to fund this 3.5 lakhs either from his emergency fund or from maybe his wedding fund. And the moment he funds this amount from his wedding fund, then he actually does not have any money left if his wedding is preponed, and then he will have to think of borrowing money to achieve his goal. That is why we talk about the importance of having both a term plan as well as a health plan, because when emergencies come up, they eat up a lot of your existing finances and they actually have a tangible dent on your goals, because of which either you forego your goals or you delay your goals, or you actually end up reducing the amount of your goals so that they fit within your finances. And that is why the reason that before you start investing, you take a term insurance cover, you take a health insurance cover, you build that safety net. Once you have that strong safety net, you are ready to take leaps in terms of your investments without having to worry about these emergencies that can crop up. Now that his goals have been modified and they are aligned to the savings that he has each month, let's look at how his money would get invested. So first, the 21,383 gets invested into debt funds, and the balance 51,951 gets invested in a mix of debt and equity, which is 50% into debt, 50% into equity. With an allocation of 25,900 each into debt and equity, he is already investing 19,200 per month in the form of EPF. So he needs to invest the balance of 6,700 in a long-term debt fund. And the balance 25,900, which has to get into equity funds, can be invested in a mix of large cap funds, mid cap funds and small cap funds. And if conversations with him reveal that he is willing to take risk by investing in small cap funds, maybe he can invest in a small cap fund also. Now that we've done the fine tuning with respect to his plan, we've made the changes and adjustments so that his aspirations meet his reality. Let's do a final look down of how his flow of cash and his flow of investments will look like after he's done this plan for himself. So Rahul earns a salary of 1.73 lakhs per month, of which after taking care of his PF deductions and taxes, what he gets in hand is an amount of 1.42 lakhs. Once he gets this amount of 1.42 lakhs, he's done his quick check of using the savings tool, and he's realized that yes, I can save 40% each month, and he puts aside 57,000 each month as his savings, and the balance 86,000 takes care of his expenses including his education loan EMI. Before he thinks of investing that 57,000, what he does is he takes care of his insurance requirements by having a term insurance of 2 crores and a health insurance of 10 lakhs, and has budgeted an insurance payment of 34,300 every year from his savings of 57,000 that is allocated. Now, given his goals, we see that he has a lot of short-term goals, so he needs a lot of money to take care of his short-term requirements, the most important being his wedding fund, and the balance can go towards his long-term goals. Out of his existing savings, we've allocated the EPF for his retirement goal, and we've split the fixed deposit between the emergency and travel goal, and the equity mutual funds have been split between the wedding fund and the house goal. The amount that he sets aside for his wedding fund has to be liquidated from his equity mutual funds and invested into a debt mutual fund so that it is available for use immediately, and his marriage is not contingent on the markets doing well, and that will happen if his money stays invested in the equity markets. With his existing investments allocated towards the various goals, we can arrive at what will be the monthly investment that is required to achieve his goals, and that gives us an amount of 9,715 for his emergency fund, 11,668 for his wedding fund. While these amounts will get invested purely in debt products, the balance of 51,951 will get invested in a mix of debt and equity in the ratio of 50-50. Out of his debt investment, he is already making an investment of 19,200 towards EPF. So the balance 6,700 will get invested in a debt fund, and the equity of 25,900 will again get invested in a mix of multiple equity funds that will help him achieve his long-term goals of buying the house and also retiring at the age of 60. Once he's put this plan in place, what is required for him is to review his portfolio each year and keep a track of what he planned at the beginning of the year. Did the investments actually happen based on his plan, and eventually what his portfolio looks like at the end of each year. This is a review he needs to do on a yearly basis so that he knows that he's on track and the plan that he put in action at the beginning of the year is actually following the path of action on a year-to-year basis. That becomes extremely important. If you put this in the form of a mind map, you will see that how his skills are helping him earn a certain amount, which are not only helping him maintain his lifestyle, they are helping him meet his obligations to the government, and all the savings that he has is helping him achieve his goals of funding his own wedding, on buying the dream house he wanted, and retiring with a corpus that will take care of his post-retirement life till his expected life of 85 years. What we've seen in this plan for Rahul Sharma is that the plan may not pan out the way you plan. Right? The reality can be a little different. If at all his wedding is to be preponed and if it is to happen in the next 6 months instead of after 2 years, he'll have to figure out a way to manage his finances so that he can fund his wedding. Similarly, he planned to buy a house, but if there isn't enough money for any reason, he should be flexible enough to either delay his goal or reduce the value of his goal. Either ways, he should work on making his realities match his goals so that he is on a very concrete path to achieving his goals. Having goals which are not achievable or having goals without a plan of action will remain a dream all your life. The purpose of a well-managed personal finance is that it should take care of your goals and help you achieve those goals rather than you continue looking at your goals as a dream. And the reason it is called personal finance is it is extremely personal to each of you, and there is no concrete plan which can be applied for everyone. And that is what we've tried to achieve, wherein we've talked about the various options that are available, what options are good for whom, and through these two plans which we discussed in the previous session and this session, we've helped you pick those options and apply them to real life scenarios so that you would know that how different options work for different individuals, and there is no option which is so-called the best options that everyone runs for. Now that you've seen two sample plans and you've seen how the various concepts that we've learned can be applied to different situations, you can use the Wealth Cafe investing tool which is attached immediately after this session, which is nothing but a collection of all the tools that we've introduced at different points in time during the sessions, and use that to make a financial plan for yourself. Because personal finance is extremely personal, each individual's plan is going to be very unique to each of you. Use the tool to make a plan for yourself so that you are answering the question of where you should invest your money and what you should do with your money. You're not going and asking that to somebody else outside. You are investing your money based on your requirements, based on your goals, based on your needs, and based on how comfortable you are taking a risk You're not taking investments decisions based on somebody else's risk taking capacity, but based on how comfortable you are, so that you have a good night's sleep. And as you sleep, your money grows for you. It helps you achieve your goals, helps you lead a wealthy life and a life of abundance.